Hey everyone! So, I've been working hard on this new series and I'm curious, should I make another part? I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments if you're excited to see more parts of this series. And for now, let's start it. This is the story of a boy who read a serialized web novel that no one else seemed to notice. The novel had no views, and the boy always wondered, why doesn't anyone read this? It's a masterpiece. It had 3,149 episodes, but the average view count just 1.9. He thought, who else would read a web novel with over 3,000 episodes? Only he did, and even then, it took him 10 years to reach the last episode. Back then, he had no idea that the story he alone had been reading for all those years would suddenly turn into reality. While traveling on a train, he is shocked as monsters suddenly appear. There is a lot of destruction everywhere, and when he read the last episode, he had no idea he would become the only person who knew how the world would end. He remembers reading lines in the book. There are 3 ways to survive the apocalypse, and everything is fading, becoming unclear now. But one thing is certain. If he reads this book, he will stay. He receives a notification that this is the last episode, and he wonders if this is really the end. His name is Dokja, which means he is the only child reader. This is how he introduces himself to others. People misunderstand him 9 times out of 10 when he tells them that he is Dokja. They think he is an only child. He clarifies that his name is Dokja. His father gave him that name because he wanted him to grow up strong and independent. However, he thinks his name is a curse because he has been lonely and single his entire life. His name is Dokja, and he graduated from a third-rate college, currently employed as a contractor at a subsidiary of a large corporation. His hobby is reading serialized web novels on the subway on his way home from work. But today's subway ride is unlike any other. He is reading the novel with full concentration when a girl named Sangha from the HR department comes to him and says he might get sucked into his phone with this concentration. He is surprised to see her, and she asks if he is heading home. She sits with him, mentioning her team manager is away on a business trip. He is surprised to see her, thinking he can't believe he ran into Sangha, the most popular girl at work. He asks her if she usually takes the subway home, thinking from the HR assistant manager to the finance team manager, there's a line of men waiting to drive her home. She gets sad, telling him someone stole her bicycle. He asks if she commutes to work on a bike, and she replies that she has been working a lot of overtime lately, so she thought she could use the exercise, and she has personal reasons too. Dokja thinks that seeing her up close, he gets why all the guys are head over heels for her, but none of that concerns him, and they both live completely different lives. However, Sangha wasn't why today's subway ride was different. She asks him to lend her some extra money in Spanish. Dokja laughs and says she is studying hard. Sangha asks what he is reading, and she is surprised to see it's a novel, saying, "You're just reading a Korean novel?" She is impressed and says she loves books too, mentioning her favorite authors are Murakami, Hari, and Raymond Carver. She asks him who his favorite author is. He thinks her hobby is reading serialized web novels on the subway on his way home. Although he is proud of his hobby, today is unlike any other because of 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, which he has been reading for the past 10 years. And today it is ending. People might wonder why he is making such a fuss over the ending of a web novel, but this story is very special to him. He has been reading this series since he was in 8th grade, when he was bullied at school, when he failed his entrance exams, ending up at a third-rate college, and when bad luck stationed him on the front lines during military service. Even now, as an unstable contract worker, moving from company to company, he has always read this book. It's bittersweet, this fictitious world he has followed for so many years now ending. Today is the day. The story's epilogue will be uploaded. It's a grand serial consisting of 349 episodes, a 10-year-long epic journey that began in his late teens and ends in adulthood. He can't believe the series went on for so long with just an average view count of 1. The first chapter had around 1,200 views, but by chapter 10, there were only about 20 views, and by chapter 50, the count dropped to 12. Ultimately, it was a story written for him, and only him, because he was the only reader left. He wanted to donate to the author, but it was hard enough for him to make ends meet, so he just thanked the author by writing a comment. He also tried recommending the series to others, but they criticized him. Sangha calls him again, asking about the story he is reading, but he changes the topic, saying it's already been a year since they started at the company. Around this time last year, They start talking, and Dokja says, it seems like only yesterday, mentioning their contracts are ending soon. He is embarrassed because Sangha was recently promoted to a full-time employee due to her diligence. He apologizes for the late congratulations, thinking he doesn't want to admit it, but Sangha is so cool. If they were characters in a novel, she would be the heroine. He never tried, but Sangha gave it her all. He read web novels while Sangha studied, so it's no wonder she became a full-time employee while he didn't. Suddenly, she offers to tell him the name of the app she uses to learn foreign languages. Dokja thinks, if he were in a different genre, if the genre of his life wasn't non-fiction, but fantasy, he might be the protagonist. But he shrugs, thinking it doesn't matter if she told him or not. The fact is, the genre of his life is non-fiction. And in this genre, he is no protagonist, but merely a reader. He tells Sangha he wants to live his own life, and she seems impressed by his words. She exclaims she also wants to live her own life and, like him, will strive to live her life to the fullest. Dokja thinks, at least this makes her stop talking. Suddenly, he receives a thank you message from the series author. The author texts him again, asking if he is the reader of TWSA, telling him he could finish his story because of him and even won a prize in a contest. Dokja is shocked TWSA was in a contest, and the writer tells him it will become paid content soon. The writer offers to send a special present, asking for his email as a token of gratitude. Dokja is surprised and tells him he could publish his story just because of him. Dokja hopes it would be great if it's a $50 gift card. After a while, he receives an email that TWSA would become paid content starting at 7 p.m. It's 6:55 now, which means he has 5 minutes left. In the meantime, they remove serials without prior notice when they become paid content, and he wonders what will happen after 5 minutes. Soon everything becomes dark, and there is a large noise of fires outside. People think it may be a terrorist attack, becoming scared when they hear the voice of an evil monster. Sangha asks Dokja what he thinks is happening outside, while he is watching his phone because it is 7 p.m. It was sheer coincidence that he checked the time at that exact moment. They hear an announcement from the staff, asking them to evacuate immediately. Sangha asks him, what is going on? But there is suddenly a loud sound of thunder and a notification. The free service of the 8612 planetary system has ended. The main scenario will begin now. And it was at that moment that the genre of his life changed. A creature called Dokja appeared in the sky, and someone exclaimed as the creature sprung into view. Dokja didn't know why that sentence popped into his head then, but suddenly the subway stopped, and the entire cabin grew dark. The opening lines of a very familiar story kept crossing his mind, but he thinks, this doesn't make any sense. In the meantime, Sangha whispers the word, Dokja, and Dokja believes there is no way this could be true, that this is completely impossible. He remembers the lines he read in the first chapter, that a downy creature wearing a straw garment was floating in midair. But soon he is shocked to see that a small creature named Dokja appears there. Everyone is watching the creature in shock, and Dokja thinks fiction and reality are overlapping. At that moment, the Dokja says something, but speaks in a different language, and everyone wonders what he is talking about. No one knows what is happening, except him. He knows that this thing is definitely a doi. The doi appeared in the opening paragraph of TWSA, and this creature heralded the tragedy that carried on for thousands of chapters throughout the story. He wonders how the very same Dokja could be right in front of him. Sangha thinks it's speaking Spanish and asks if she should try talking to it. He makes fun of her, saying, you don't even know what that thing is. Are you going to ask it for a loan? In the meantime, the Dokja speaks in English. Can you hear me now? And suddenly there is a language patch. A boy asks him, what are you doing? Are you filming a movie? And the Dokja says, I should have done more research. Someone told me I'd have the most customers if I put up the paywall at around 7 in the evening. He then asks everyone to stop talking and listen to him, saying he has something very important to tell them all. People start arguing, asking, how are you going to compensate us? And you can't do this without our consent. A little boy calls for his mother and asks if this is a cartoon, while Dokja knows exactly how this story goes. He tells Sangha not to move while the Dokja exclaims, you are all very noisy. He stares at the people angrily and yells for them to be quiet. At this, one of the boys' heads explodes and he dies in front of everyone. The Dokja starts killing them one by one and says, this is not a movie and it is not a dream. This is reality and you are all a part of it. Dokja hates to admit it, but it's real. His doubt and disbelief slowly fade. The floor quickly becomes painted in blood. And the Dokja says, All of you had quite a relaxing life until now. You could breathe, eat, excrete, and reproduce without paying the costs. You've all been living privileged lives, but it's over now because nothing is free. People are very scared, asking if he wants money from them. Mr. Han from the finance team faces him, saying, "If it's money you're after, I'll give you as much as you want. How much do you need?" Dokja asks, "Are you offering him your money?" Mr. Han says he can give as much money as the Dokabi wants if he lets him go. The Dokabi smirks, saying, "Money is good. It's an object that signifies an intersubjective agreement between humans." But then he moves his hand and tears Mr. Han's card into pieces, exclaiming that money is only valid within the confines of their space-time, and that paper has no value in the macroscopic dimension. He warns, "If you pull a stunt like this again, I'll blow your head up." He says there's no time for chit-chat. Their debt is piling up as they speak, and tells them to start earning money themselves. He moves above their heads, saying, "Channel 7623 has opened, and the constellations are now making an entrance." A small status window appears in front of everyone, and Dokja is shocked to see that there is one in front of him too. There's a line written on it. "The main scenario has arrived. Prove your value by killing one or more living organisms. Time limit, 30 minutes. The Dokabi wishes them all good luck, laughing, saying he expects to see an interesting story. He disappears, leaving people in a state of fear and shock. After that, Sangha tries to call the police, but they aren't picking up. Dokja asks her to stay calm. He asks if she's played the game the development team is working on, the one where only a handful of people survive the apocalypse. She surprisingly asks, "What does that have to do with anything?" He tells her, "We're part of that game now. Every game has rules. We just need to follow them. We just have to figure out what those rules are." He then observes the current situation: a doy with antennae and a litter of dead bodies in the subway cabin, office workers trembling, covered in blood, and an old lady praying fervently in her seat. He still can't believe this is really happening, but he can't deny it any longer. He has no choice but to admit it now. He doesn't know why, but it's clear TWSA, which he has been reading for over 10 years, is coming to life right before his eyes. He sighs and thinks about what he should do to survive. He remembers the status window in front of him, where he has to kill one or more living organisms to prove his value. In the meantime, a boy calls everyone and asks them to calm down and stop what they are doing. He says this is a national emergency, and even a small commotion can lead to heavy casualties. "So from now on, I will take charge of this situation." The people refuse to listen to him and ask, "Who are you and why should we listen to you?" He introduces himself as an Army lieutenant in Units 65 and 02. Dokja is surprised to see there is a man from the military. The lieutenant has just received a message from his unit, calling him to return as soon as possible. A man asks, "What is happening?" The lieutenant replies he is trying to contact the army base, but as a soldier, he doesn't have clearance to contact the Blue House directly. Dokja already knew this would become a national emergency, so he wasn't surprised, but something else surprised him. He thinks he knows the lieutenant named Hong Lee. While he has never seen him in person, he knows him by name. His real introduction is as the Steel Blade, Hong Sang-lee, Republic of Korea Army Lieutenant, and he was one of the supporting characters in TWSA. It's hard for him to believe that a character from TWSA has actually appeared. He wonders if this is how Hong Sang was introduced in the original story, but he's certain that this is not how Lee first appeared. He originally appeared after the first scenario and wondered what was happening there. He thinks, "If I could read it again, I would know exactly what's happening." Suddenly, a boy shouts and informs them that the Prime Minister is making a speech, which means this really is a Level 1 national emergency. The boy announces that there have been reports of unidentified terrorist attacks in Seoul, as well as many other areas of the country. The government will combat these attacks using all means necessary, and Dokja remembers that this was also in the story. It would be easier to believe that they are under a terrorist attack. People wonder why the Prime Minister is making the speech and what happened to the president. It's revealed that the president has died due to the terrorist attack. Others think it is just a rumor, but Dokja knows it is not a rumor, because soon the Prime Minister will also die. Suddenly there is another attack, and the Prime Minister dies in front of everyone during his live broadcast. The Dokabi appears and exclaims that he has already told everyone this is not a joke. He says people haven't taken him seriously and are not playing a game right now. According to his research, people from this country are good at games, so he now wants to raise the difficulty by reducing the time remaining for Task 1. They now have 10 minutes left and have to kill more living organisms. Their remaining time is 10 minutes, and as an added penalty, if the first death doesn't occur within the next 5 minutes, then every living organism in this cabin will be terminated. People get scared and ask Lieutenant Lee what to do now, while he asks everyone to calm down. Sangha also seems scared, while Dokja thinks everything is going exactly as he remembers. The events are unfolding exactly the same as the beginning of TWSA, but he can't help feeling something isn't right. Hong Lee, one of the major supporting characters, has already appeared, but one more person should have appeared. If he remembers correctly, that person should be appearing any minute now. Suddenly, they hear a voice that someone has been murdered in the cabin behind them. They try to open the door, but it cracks with so much light, and they find that there is an invisible wall in front of the door. They hear the Dokabi's voice saying no one may enter or leave the cabin until the scenario is complete. He claims it's getting interesting for some cabins, while others haven't even started yet, and says he will give them a little jolt to get the ball rolling. He will show them what will happen if they don't act within the next 5 minutes. He shows them a video of Tong Girls' high school students who suddenly all die because their time limit has been exceeded. All the students fail as their heads explode, while others cry for help and try to run away, but no one can escape. The people in the cabin are shocked to see their fate. Suddenly, a student grabs another by the neck and kills her in front of them. A notification appears. The survivor of channel 23,515 is Ji Hai, a second-year student from Class B at Tong Girls High School. The Dokkabi laughs at them, Injo are also scared, and he is still waiting for someone to appear and save them all. He thinks the events he is familiar with, and those he didn't know were even part of the story, are happening simultaneously. He tries to search for the story to read it again, but no results are found. He thinks, this series isn't even popular, so it's doubtful someone would have tried to share it illegally. Suddenly, he remembers the message he received earlier, which also had an attached file. He is shocked to see that he gets an option to save all the files. He rubs his eyes, thinking he is dreaming, but it is real. The author has sent him his novel as a present. He thinks sharing novels is illegal, but in this case, what is legal and unlawful doesn't matter to the author. Meanwhile, the status window has been updated, saying each of the TWSA survivors receives a special attribute and a skill linked to that attribute. He thinks this is happening just like the novel, and he needs to figure out his attributes. But he is surprised to see that his attribute window cannot be opened. He wonders why this is happening, and if he can't access his attribute window, he won't be able to discover his attributes and skills. However, he decides to read the attached file first, and the status window appears, saying his attribute has been activated, and he can now read faster. He is shocked to see this because it took him less than a minute to read the opening chapter of TWSA. Thanks to this, he receives information about Cabin 377, where he is currently located. And with that, he realizes why he had felt so uneasy. The events unfolding around him were different from what he remembered, because the protagonist was actually in the subway cabin behind this one. But he wonders about the people in cabin 3807. In the story, Sangha calls him and asks if they should try to stop them while he peeks at the chaos and confusion unfolding in subway cabin 3807. He thinks it's probably too late for them because only 2 people will survive in that cabin. After a while, there is another boy named Noon Kim who grabs a man and kills him, and Dokja knows who those 2 people are. Sangha is shocked to see him killing the people, and Dokja thinks she will probably die. Only Hong Lee and Noon Kim will survive, and everyone in this cabin will die, including him. Nun is killing people while the finance manager grabs his hand, asking, "Didn't your teachers teach you how to respect elders?" Kim turns back and asks him, "What's wrong with you? Do you want to die too?" He asks Mr. Han if he's seen the classroom window, and if the army isn't going to save them, someone has to die so others can live. "We have to pick the ones who will die," he exclaims. "We're above all this. Look around. This is a kill or be killed situation. No one can blame them when their own lives are on the line." He asks everyone to think wisely because the world they know is ending soon, and they have new rules to follow in this new world. Dokja thinks Noon Kim was one of the earliest adopters to accept the world of TWSA, and it was he who drove a wedge into the crack, destroying the sense of morality that had been binding society together. Lee is also observing the situation and thinks, if no one dies within the next 5 minutes, everyone in there will die. In this situation, Dokja suddenly recalls a line he had read a long time ago. Executioners pull the lever of the electric chair at the same time. They do so in order to conceal who really killed the prisoner. It is as if he was reading that part of the novel. They were all in a different world and he was just a spectator. All he could do was stand by and watch. The nameless elderly woman became the first victim, and if he carelessly meddles with the course of the story, there may be less of the original plot left for him to work with. But he wonders if it is fair to stand by and watch her die. Sangha tries to speak, saying, "They're going to kill her," but he grabs her hand, asking her not to be reckless, because it can be dangerous. He thinks, some people are destined to shine regardless of their genre, but Sangha cannot change the course of the story because she isn't the heroine in this world. He asks her to stay there and just do as he tells her for now. "If you listen to me this once, I promise I won't ever bother you again." He thinks it's too early for him to interfere. This wasn't part of his plan. He didn't interfere sooner because he was afraid of Naaman or the others, or because he condoned their savage ways. He was just waiting for the right moment, and that moment came. Suddenly, there is destruction behind the door, and he runs from his place toward Namun, who is killing a woman. The main scenario again appears on the screen, showing the time remaining, 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Suddenly, smoke fills the air, and Dokja runs toward Namun, hitting him hard. Namun shouts, "What's your problem?" Dokja thinks. It may seem like he pushed Kim to save the old lady, but that wasn't the only thing he was aiming for. He looks around searching for something and wonders where it is. It must be somewhere. He then finds a child, grabs his box, and asks him to hold on to it for a while. He gets everyone's attention and asks them to stop, saying, "Killing that old lady doesn't mean you're going to live. What will you do after she's dead? Will you buy a little more time just because you killed something within the time limit?" He asks. If what the Dokabi said is true, does it mean each of us has to kill one person? Who will you kill next? Nun laughs, saying, "It's obvious that we'll kill losers like you next. Why worry about your turn before it comes?" Dokja already knew he would say that, and responds, "Kim is gambling with your lives when there's a way to survive this without becoming murderers." He asks, "Have you forgotten the scenario? You don't have to kill a human being. You have to kill one or more living organisms." He has a box full of insects, and they all rush toward him, mad to kill them. The madness that had driven them to kill the old lady now turns toward him. He wonders why his heart beats with joy in this precarious situation, why he is smiling, and if he has always been this kind of person. He kills one of the insects and then throws the box in the air. With this, the first kill mission has been accomplished, and he receives 100 coins as a bonus. Now people are looking for insects and there are 3 minutes left. Namun asks him, "Why did you do this? You could have just handed over the bugs." Dokja replies, "There were only 3 insects left in the box." Kim laughs and says, "You threw them because not all of us can live? No one in their right mind would pull a stunt like this for a stupid reason. Be honest, you want us to fight for our lives." Dokja thinks Kim is cruel and rampant and enjoys situations like this. He activates his character profile and now knows Kim's attributes. Most of the edgy teens in TWSA couldn't handle the nightmare that became reality and committed suicide. But Nun Kim was different. He was later bestowed with the nickname Delusional Demon. He had been waiting for the apocalypse and adapted to this world unusually fast. Kim then comes forward, asking Dokja to team up with him. Dokja receives a notification. He has obtained Nun Kim's interest. The main scenario appears again with 2 minutes and 59 seconds remaining. On the other side, in the cabin, there is fire all around, and people are still looking for insects. Dokja refuses Kim's offer, saying, "I work alone." He thinks if he teams up with Nun Kim, his survival is guaranteed for now. But as a reader who knows Kim's future, he would never team up with him. Kim moves forward and tells him to get out of his way, because he has unfinished business with the granny. He can't let the bug he caught escape. He is about to go when Dokja grabs his hand. Kim asks, "Are you trying to act like a hero now? Or do you have a split personality?" Dokja realizes how much he hated Kim's character in TWSA, and Kim frees himself, saying, "People like you make me sick." Dokja receives a notification. His affinity toward Naman Kim has slightly decreased. Suddenly Kim punches him, asking him to move, but Dokja dodges, thinking, "I knew he'd make that move." Kim tries to attack him again, and this time Dokja can't dodge, realizing this is the skill of the Edgelord attribute. Kim activates his skill, Grimdark Awakening, level 1, and tries to attack him, but Dokja moves to the side and dodges again. Kim seems to enjoy his new skill, saying, "I'm so strong," Dokja thinks. This is why the protagonist recruited him. Even as a psychopath, he's useful. Dokja's understanding of Nun Kim has increased, and he thinks he should use his skills too. He unlocks his personal skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, level 1, and wonders what this skill is. Kim tries to attack him repeatedly, but Dokja dodges every attack. Kim gets angry asking, "Why aren't you getting hit?" Dokja thinks, "He won't be able to beat me, no matter how hard he tries." Kim tries to punch his face, but Dokja dodges again. As soon as his second skill, Omniscient Reader's viewpoint, is activated, he knows Kim's moves, as if he's reading his mind. Kim pushes him to the ground, furiously rushing to attack. Dokja thinks, "All I can do is dodge his attacks. Retaliating is impossible. He just needs to hold on a little longer. 2 minutes are left until the scenario completes." He looks toward the injured old lady and thinks, if she dies, Namun will clear the scenario. Dokja rushes toward the old lady thinking, whatever happens, I can't let someone like him move on to the next scenario. Namun takes out his knife saying, "I knew you'd make that move." This time he aims at Dokja's heart, using the skill knife fighting, level 1. He tries to attack the old lady, but Dokja moves her away and saves her. In this process, he gets injured in his arm, feeling like his skin is burning. Namun grunts in anger, while Dokja grabs the old lady, but her condition isn't good. He thinks, death is just around the corner, and if I lose to Nun Kim, I'll also die here. He thinks, this is a simple world, based on survival of the fittest. The strong prey on the weak, and nothing has really changed. That rule is just more apparent now. He knows he must adhere to that rule if he wants to survive. Kim laughs, saying, "You don't have the strength to run anymore. Do me a favor. We're running out of time." Dokja gets up, saying, "You are Nun Kim, a second-year student at Chenil High School, an insect egg and an organism." Namun wonders, asking, "What are you talking about?" Suddenly, Dokja picks up a bug and smashes it, causing many status windows to appear. He receives 100 bonus points for killing a living organism. Nun grabs his knife, rushing toward him, while Dokja receives a notification asking if he wants to use the coins he just obtained. He invests 2,700 coins in stamina, significantly enhancing his physical durability. Namun tries to stab him, but Dokja's body is so rigid that he can't pierce him. Dokja pushes him back, saying, "Grasshoppers lay more than 100 eggs at a time during mating season. I'm not the one who will die here, only Namun Kim will." With only 57 seconds left, Nun tries to attack again, but fails to even injure him. The countdown starts and a status window appears, saying their time has run out. They will now proceed with checkout. Kim Noin has died, and his body has been laid on the ground. He remembers Noin begging him for help in his last moments and says, "People's lives are essential, so it's only right that I save him." But Dokja replies, "These things were in the old world, but now a new world needs new rules." Nun begged him for help and said he didn't want to die, but Dokja couldn't do anything for him, and he died in front of him. He thinks Nun was right, that he is just like him, because he could have saved those people. He would be lying if he said he didn't feel guilty, but strangely, he is able to remain so calm. He feels like he is just reading the novel instead of actually partaking in it. His attribute window appears and says he has slaughtered 124 living organisms, including 1 grasshopper and 123 eggs. Due to killing non-resistant organisms, the number of coins he obtained has been halved, and he has received 6,200 coins. Moreover, he has also unlocked the achievement Decimator due to excessive slaughtering, and Dokja has obtained 300 coins as a basic clear reward. The world they once knew has collapsed, and a new world is being born. The train is moving again, and they are relieved they can now go home. Suddenly, many monsters appear outside, and they are shocked to see the destruction they have caused. Dokja thinks, this is fascinating because only one reader knows how this world will end. A big monster is appearing under the sea, and Mr. Han is getting scared, thinking, this thing is coming for us. Dokja knows that a snake-like monster is called an Ichio, also known as a sea serpent. Later on, it will be classified as a grade 7 monster in TWSA. The world of TWSA prioritizes scenarios over everything else, so no creatures will attack them unless they are part of the scenario. He thinks they are safe for now. There are 5 survivors in cabin number 387. After a while, Dokja appears there, pretending to be shocked by the situation, and asks, "What has happened here?" He exclaims, "I was only gone for a few minutes, but you've created so much mess. There are only 5 survivors here, including the child, whose names are Lee Gil-young, Sang-yu, Lee Hyun-sung, Han Mayano, and Kim Dokja. Dokja is happy to see a total of 21 stars. The number of stars signifies the number of constellations logged into the channel. It is revealed that the constellations are the most mysterious beings in TWSA and the masterminds behind this tragedy, who live-stream the scenarios from across the universe. In other words, they are the ones who watch the Dobu's channels, and this channel had 21 viewers, which is a lot for a newbie. Dokja, in the original story, Nun Kim killed almost everyone in this cabin, and there is a notification that due to the death of Noon Kim, 2 constellations feel slight hostility towards them. He thinks some constellation must be furious about the outcome, and this error probably happened because he killed Noon Kim. There is a notification that his payment is being delayed due to an unexpected scenario inspection. Judging from how the constellation's preferences are popping up, he guesses this is officially the story's beginning. He thinks he was in their position yesterday, but now they watch him. However, a few constellations are impressed with his scenario, and the constellations have gifted him 500 coins. Of course, if constellations hate him, some constellations support him. He hopes that all of them enjoy the show because they will end up paying the admission fee with their lives sooner or later. In the meantime, Sanka calls him and asks what he is thinking. He apologizes to her for being unable to save the old lady. She wants to ask him something but later asks him to forget and thanks him for earlier. She knows that he intentionally threw the cage towards her so that she could grab the insect. Dokja refuses and says it is just a coincidence and won't happen again. He doesn't know what she is thinking, but she is smart enough to survive this chaos and probably understands what he says. Because of his choice, some lived while some died, and he doesn't deserve the gratitude of those who survived. Dokja laughs and says there are many survivors and thanks them for constellations because of them. 21 constellations are watching his channel. Dokja thinks there are 5 survivors, which is more than he thought. He expected Honan Lee to survive since he was strong and an athlete. The other survivor is the kid, Gilong Lee, and he gave him the insect due to his will because he was the real hero of the story. He calls the kid, asks him if he wants to live, and asks him to team up with him. He is notified that a few constellations are impressed with his good deed and have gifted him 200 coins. Dokja thinks, even though it seems shameless, it can't be helped because I too want to live. Considering the event that will follow, he has to get the attention of the constellations. And Dokja says, a lot of exciting things happened today. The guy in the next cabin was also a total nutcase. Mr. Han asks him if he is going to let them go now, and Dokja thinks he is one of the lucky guys, but wonders why he took the subway that day, because they all know that he is from a well-off family. Mr. Han asks Dokja to let them go, and he counter-questions them if they really want him to let them go. Seeing the situation outside, Mr. Han gets scared to see that serpent, and Dokja is impressed by them because he didn't have any expectations for this cabin, but they all survived. The first scenario and have proven that even bugs deserve to survive. Dokja thinks they are nothing but grasshoppers to him. Dokja exclaims, every hardship deserves a reward, and the reward for the first scenario is that they are now qualified to be sponsored by constellations. They don't respond to him, and Dokja asks them why they don't seem so excited. Dokja thinks he is the only person who knows what a constellation or sponsor is, and Dokja says all of them are terribly so weak. If they were to move on to the next scenario in this state, they would be killed by a weak ground rat. But there are great beings in this world who pity them and wish to sponsor them. Lee asks what is meant by sponsoring them, and Dokja says there is no point in explaining it all over again. He opens their attributes windows and shows them something. They have been asked to select a constellation, and the constellation chosen will be their reliable sponsor. Sanka calls Dokja and tells him that 2 strange options suddenly popped up, and he replies that he doesn't know anything, and she has to think of it as taking an app aptitude test. He thinks she is lucky that she has been offered 2 sponsorships. The ones who provide support to them are the constellations, and now sponsor selection, one of the main events in TWSA, has started. It is revealed that the sponsor selection is a system in which the constellations who watch them through the Duo-Eyes channels choose a human they like as their incarnation and sponsor them. In his case, 4 constellations want to sponsor him as their incarnation, but they never reveal their true names. Considering the protagonist of TWSA initially had 5 options, 4 isn't a small number at all. Using the hints in their nicknames like Abyssal Demon and Garden, they must try to deduce their identities themselves. He first decides to see the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, and he is a powerful being who leads the constellation group Black Cloud. From what he recalls, his true name is quite long, and the incarnation of this sponsor receives an additional boost to their power level. Considering that stamina and strength are vital in the early scenarios, it would be smart to select him as his sponsor. The more they use the constellation's power, the more they lose their senses, and eventually they will end up as a psychotic killer. He is sure that this was the constellation that supported Mamoon Kim in the novel, so he wonders why he chose him. He doesn't know about him, so he decides to put him on hold for now and looks through his second option. His second option is the demonic Judge of Fire, and judging from the name, One could assume this constellation is demonic, but ironically, demonic means this constellation isn't a demon. The words fire and judge indicate that the entity makes judgments through fire, which means she is actually Archangel Uriel. He remembers someone chose this constellation as their sponsor in the novel, so he thinks Uriel isn't a bad choice. But he will expose his other options first. Constellations of absolute good are powerful, but they impose strict restrictions on the ones they sponsor. He looks for his third option, Secretive Plotter, but he is surprised that he has never seen this option in TWSA before. He thinks it can be one of the constellations that were just mentioned. He decides to move on from this too, and looks for his fourth option, the Prisoner of the Golden Headband. He can't believe this constellation made an offer already. The Prisoner constellation may look negative initially, but someone must pay attention to the proper noun Golden Headband. This means it is the smallest prison in the world, and the owner of Mount Huaguo lives with the pain of the binding head shackle and the handsome Monkey King with the golden gaze and furious eyes. He remembers one of the characters was sponsored by him in the novel, and he has the power to crush hundreds of incarnations with a single swing of his staff and eradicate thousands of monsters with a single lightning bolt. He still remembers that passage very clearly since the author emphasized it so strongly, and he wonders why such a powerful constellation has shown interest in him. If he chooses the great sage Heaven's Equal as his sponsor, he wonders if he will be able to beat someone behind the doors. Soon they ended with their sponsor selection, and Dokja said one of them had made a very interesting choice. He then disappears, saying they need to take a short break, and he has to go prepare for the next scenario, saying he will be back in 10 minutes. After that, Dokja asked everyone to gather around, and Hong Li introduced himself to him. Dokja says he is assuming that he can't get in touch with his unit, observes that he has a strong grip, and thinks he shouldn't be surprised because he is the tanker in the early stages of TWSA. He thinks he must recruit Yongshang Li, and he thanks him for what he did earlier, because if it hadn't been for him, then they would be dead by now. Mr. Han also keeps his hand on his shoulders and thanks him for saving them. Dokja takes his name, Yong Gohan, but he asks him to call him Mr. Han. He replies that they are not at work and asks him if he is not planning to come to work anymore. He also scolds him for throwing away the bug jar earlier and says that he should have told him before, etc. But he asks him to shut up and asks if he even thinks that company exists after everything that has happened. He exclaims Mr. Han is not the only one who needs a wake-up call, and everyone needs to come to their senses because, as the Doi said, this isn't a joke, and he is sure that all of them realize what's going on by now. He asks them to observe the situation, and if someone still doesn't get what is going on, Koning says it's the kind of thing he reads about in novels while covering the night shift, and he still can't believe that it's real. He says it's a good thing that at least one person is certain about what's going on and asks him if he has any idea now. He receives a notification that Hang Li has started to trust him, and Dokja says they all have to get out of there. They are all shocked at what he just said, and Mr. Han remembers the large serpent roaming outside, and he asks him if he is out of his mind. Hong also says if they leave this place, they are going to get killed. Suddenly, they hear an explosive sound from the adjacent cabin, and he thinks they are moving to the next scenario. But Dokja hasn't come back yet, which means the person on the other side of that door is the sole survivor of Subway Cabin 377. He thinks it is quite obvious who that person is, and now he is trying to come to their cabin. He is the true protagonist of this story, so he asks others to get out of there. And if they don't leave right now, they are all going to die before the next scenario. The person is badly hitting the door, and Hyung Lee says they can't be sure that whatever is on the other side of that door is their enemy. He replies that the person is the survivor who killed all those people in his cabin and asks them if they still want to meet him. They seem to understand what he just said, and Hong says they have to find a way out of there. Dokja thinks the invisible field disappears after the scenario ends, and they just need to find a working door. And among the right doors in this cabin, they haven't checked 3 of them yet. He thinks there has to be one door that works because the door's about to break. The situation seems so tense, and Dokja also seems very worried. Suddenly S calls him and shows him an open door, and they try to open it. But they find out that the door is broken too, but it's still the only one they can open. He has 4,700 coins and thinks he can use his coins again and increase his strength this time. But he doesn't know what will happen next because using his coins recklessly can be dangerous. He asks Hong Song to use his skills and checks his attribute windows to see his skills. Thankfully, his supporting constellation and attributes are the same as in the novel, and Dokja tells him that he probably checked his skills when he opened his attribute window earlier, and he must have a skill that he can use now since he is in the army. Koning says he has a skill but doesn't know how to use it, so he asks him to imagine himself using it. He just says what Dokja asked him to do and opens the door forcefully. He is so happy that his skills worked, and Hyung-Lee has begun to trust him more than before. Dokja thinks it looks like the Stigma Great Mountain Push was successfully activated. The steel door connected to Subway Cabin 377 will break soon, but if his memory serves him right, the steel door isn't the problem. But when they come outside, Dokkaebi faces them, and Dokja already knows this will happen. He asks them why they came outside when he has already told them not to, because he is not done preparing for the following scenario. And Mr. Han also shouts at him, saying they should stay inside. He says he doesn't have a choice, and they are fortunate human beings. And with this, he starts the second scenario. Their attribute windows appear in front of them, and their sub-scenario is escape. Dokja already knew about this scenario. Sangha says something doesn't feel right, and it displays a collapsed bridge. But the bridge isn't collapsed, and he asks him to hurry up and run away. He thinks Sangha is right because the bridge is still intact, because they got off the train too early. He knows that the bridge will definitely collapse, and it might seem underhanded, but it's impossible to clear this scenario without going around the rules. They are cutting it close, but he thinks they will make it before collapsing the bridge. They are suddenly shocked to see a storm in the sea. A huge sea serpent appears from nowhere and opens its large mouth to attack them. Dokja asks them to run because the bridge is about to collapse, and they can make it across if they run. He thinks the Iosaur doesn't go after incarnations early on in the story, and it probably showed up to destroy the bridge. They only have about 200 yards left, and at this speed, they will be able to cross the bridge before it collapses. Dokkaebi laughs and says, "It's no fun if the game is too easy," and reaches across them, saying, "The funny thing is, if they get away safely, he will shake things up a bit." He increases the difficulty of the scenario from E to D, and the evil thoughts of the dead have returned, and black ether is rising from the surrounding earth. He has woken up all the dead bodies and zombies, and they receive a notification that the demonic beings have been resurrected. They have entered Aoksu Station, and Hang calls Dokja about what they should do now. The zombies have surrounded them from all sides, and he asks everyone to get down. In the meantime, the snake serpent approaches them and attacks the bridge. They all get injured, and when Dokja gets into consciousness, he is shocked to see that the bridge has collapsed and a lot of people have died in the process. Sangha and Mr. Han ask him about his condition, and Dokja already knew that something like this might happen, but he hadn't expected Mr. Han and Sangha to survive. Hong and Gilong also made it to safety in one place, and now someone has received the blessing of the constellation. An attribute window appears, saying the constellation's blessing has activated Deus Ex Machina in this scenario, and the blessing creates a bridge of light. An attribute window appears and says an even number of people can cross the bridge, which will collapse if an odd number of people attempt to cross it. Sangha reveals that this is her blessing, which suddenly appears in her mind. It is shown that Deus Ex Machina is a power that lets a constellation directly intervene in the scenario at a great cost. He wonders if Sangha's supporting constellation intervened in order to save her, but this kind of intervention is rare even in TWA. He activates her character profile to check her supporting constellation. However, her profile cannot be browsed using a character profile, and she doesn't have a registered character profile. He is shocked at why he can't browse her profile with his skill and wonders if she has a special constellation supporting her or if she has a mental barrier skill. Suddenly, SGA calls him and asks him to watch his back when a zombie tries to attack him. He dodges him and falls back to the ground. He thinks this isn't the time to be lost in thought. A mutant species infected by the black ether appears there. Once normal humans, humanoid demons are no different from zombies, but they can be quite dangerous if their host happens to be someone who is powerful. This time, the mutant appears there in Noon Kim, and Dokja wonders if it just had to be him. He activates his personal skills, and the Omniscient Reader viewpoint activates there. It is revealed that this character doesn't possess consciousness, so he starts his Omniscient Reader viewpoint. He has a feeling that it won't work, and all they can do now is to get across the bridge of even numbers somehow. But there are 3 of them right now: Dokja, Sangha, and Mr. Han. One of them has to stay behind and die, because there is a rule that an even number of people can cross the bridge. He asks Sangha to get ready and run, but is shocked to see that Mr. Han has grabbed her and is about to cross the bridge. She tries to free herself, but Mr. Han drags her away and runs on the bridge. Dokja is shocked that he has left him behind. He receives a notification that the demonic judge of fire is touched by his selflessness and has gifted him 100 coins. He tries to see Sanga's character profile, but still can't reach it. He thinks that Stigma 1 leeched Swiftfoot belongs to the constellation Limping Trickster. That constellation doesn't endow its incarnation with the mental barrier stigma. A stigma is an extraordinary power given to incarnations by their constellations, so there is no way that Mr. Han could have that kind of skill. The reason his skill didn't work on Senga and Mr. Han was that they were the characters that didn't appear in TWSA. Meanwhile, Nuam roars and tries to attack him again. This time, many more mutants surround him from all sides. He thinks he can't cross the bridge alone, but he can cross the bridge if he grabs a demon and crosses with him, but this won't work. 15 minutes are left until the scenario ends while Dokja is watching him and asks if any constellation wishes to bless this poor incarnation, but there is no one. While Dokja is fighting with the mutants and tries to push them away, others have reached the other side safely, and Dokja thinks his body can't handle much more of this. So he reaches near the water in order to avoid them. They all gather and follow him, and Dokja thinks he might actually die this time. He thinks it wouldn't be this hard if he only had one combat skill. He activates his personal skill bookmark and is also surprised at what kind of skill this is. Many attribute windows show the loading of the lists of bookmarks that can be activated. A list of bookmark characters appears there, and Dokja thinks he has read over 3,000 episodes of TWSA, but he has never read about this skill anywhere. However, he instinctively understood how it worked and activated bookmark number 1. He remembers what Nun said earlier, that the new world needs new rules. His first bookmark starts, but the time has been shortened due to the low level of the bookmark skill, and he only has 1 minute. His understanding of the character is low, so the character's skills are only partially activated, and he activates Grim Dark Awakening level 1 and attacks Neon with his dagger. He smashes him with just one attack, and Neon again dies, eyes there. His understanding of Noon Kim has increased, and he deactivates bookmark number 1. He checks the sub-scenario escape, and the difficulty level is D with 10 minutes and 11 seconds remaining. He has just killed one of them, and he seems so exhausted. He walks through the mutants, approaches Dokja, and asks him about who he is. He wonders if he is supposed to go up against this guy, but he doesn't stand a chance against him. Thanks for watching. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated. And hey, drop a comment if you have thoughts or new ideas or just want to say hi. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and stay awesome.